Today we're going to be talking about some of the latest tools that we have available in Fusion, um, based that are going to help you a lot in your everyday tasks, if that makes sense. Okay. As you guys might be aware, Fusion it's service software that is there's no releases that come up every year or something, so it's always on the move. Always something new on Fusion. There are new changes being implemented every day, new updates every month. So um, basically, what we're going to see here for this release to July 2025 are the best features that I've seen that have been implemented in Fusion in the last couple months, probably around the beginning of this year. Okay. Especially because some of these tools I think are very, very important. And my guess is they're gonna be must haves in the future. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at improvements in the Home tab regarding information that you can see right when you get Fusion started. We're gonna see improvements in and out constraints. Uh, in case you're not aware on how it works, and we're gonna take a look at the auto constraint tool. Uh, we're gonna take a look at some improvements in the additive manufacturing department, that is on the arrangements that we see on additive, on 3D printing, those kind of things. New exciting one for people who are used to working on other CAD software that's constraints on our assemblies, and some enhancements to our Fusion web client. Okay, so let's get started with our Home tab in Fusion. Okay, so when we navigate to our Home tab, before we could only see pretty basic information, right? Right now, Fusion has been revamped, so I can take a look at many um, parameters or many different properties of our projects. Okay, so for example, I can take a look at the owner when we're working on collaborative environments, the dates, the location where my projects have been handled, and I can modify how I can show this information. Okay. So, for example, if I want to check on the milestones that have been created, or if I don't want to show the location, basically I can rearrange my Home tab to show the information that I actually need, right? So it's gonna save us a lot of time going into each design. We can navigate the projects very easily in here as well. For example, we can navigate through the samples in case we want to explore different tools in simulation or generative design on electronics. Basically, it's a whole revamp for the face of Fusion, if that makes sense, right? Now, when we're working on the actual design environment, there are very cool features that have been added uh, to the actual sketching in the design and to the drawings that we get from our designs as well. Okay, that is auto constraint. The huge advantage of using Fusion as web software, if that makes sense, that you get the full power of processing in regards to IA. Okay, so as you guys might be aware, dealing with artificial intelligence means you're gonna have to send that information, for example, um, to a server or to a remote computer, so they can use their power to produce a meaningful result. Okay, and with regular software, it's very hard to use those kind of tools, right? But with Fusion, you can't or we can't make use of tools, for example, like the auto constraint tool that I'm going to use right now. So And I'm gonna go ahead, modify my entities a little bit here. Trend. For example, gonna do something real simple here. Okay, so I got this this simple shape right here. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and auto constrain it. Okay, so in case you are not aware on what it does, it's gonna use artificial intelligence basically to generate options or generate suggestions on how you can place your dimensions and your constraints. Okay, so for example, for this simple oblong, you could specify a certain radius and a certain distance. Okay, or for example, you could specify the distance between the 2 points or the long line down here. Okay, and the distance between these other two. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's how it works. Okay. Uh, when we get a more complex drawing, for example, I'm gonna suppose I'm gonna create some line work here. All right. We're gonna fill it, for example. It's gonna be. I'm gonna keep it simple like that. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and hit auto constraint. All right. Fusion is going to use artificial intelligence to understand what constraints need to be applied. And I get, with this latest release, a very good control on how far away I want to go with these suggestions. Okay. So, for example, let's say I don't want to apply that many constraints. I want a little more freedom. So I can reduce the amount of dimensions that I can bring in by using my slider, in case I just want to bring in one dimension and 5 constraints because I want to be able to control those. Or maybe I want more dimensions, for example, like this. Okay, I think this suggestion is pretty good. And there we go, right? I can go ahead and modify it as needed. And it's going to save me a lot of time in regards to what needs to be done. In regards to thinking about how to constrain my entities. All right. Now, in regards to the auto constraint tool, a new way of using it has been added as well, the auto constraint from data. Okay. So in case you don't want to use the origin of the sketch as the origin point for all your dimensions, you can go ahead and change the origin or change the reference for making your sketch. So for example, let's suppose I'm going to create another sketch here. It's supposed to go all the way up there. All right. Maybe I can make it like this, for example. All right. Probably I don't have the constraint, right? And in a general sense, the auto constraint tool will try to reference everything towards the origin of the sketch, right? Whereas if I'm going to start my auto constraint with a datum, I'm going to specify my origin point in a certain location, and the artificial intelligence, it's going to define all the constraints and dimensions from that point. All right. Now, moving to, well, there are many other features that may be available in our design environment that might help us a little bit on the design. I think these are the most important ones for the latest release. And so we're going to move into the additive manufacturing department. Okay. So there's been some rearrangements on how everything looks on the manufacturing side. Okay. So it's going to be even easier to rearrange our parts, to modify them, and replace them in our printed bed if needed. All right. So I'm going to pretend I want to set up this part for 3D printing. So I'm going to go ahead and select my good old-fashioned Crowley Ender 2 Pro. Whoa, that's a little too big, right? So yeah, we need to. We're gonna make it smaller, so I don't need to think about all the. There we go. So I want to think about all the dimensions that I got right there. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead, go into my manufacturing department, and create a setup for this one. There we go. Like golden tube, gonna use my rearrangement spacing at 0, and there we go. All right. So there's been some improvements on how I can rearrange my part in case I want to specify a different orientation, or if I want to manually move my part. Okay. So now the move component part has been revamped, so it looks or it feels exactly like the move command in the designed environment. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and specify several entities here. All right. And in case I need to move them by hand outside of the arrangement, now I got my display interference tool active in here. Okay. So, for example, if I start moving my part, okay, and Inventor finds that there's going to be an interference, it's going to show you in real time if the part is going to interfere and with which part is going to interfere. Okay. So there's no need to and the movement operation to define where your part needs to be. Okay, you can rearrange your parts just like you need them, and in real time make the decision or on where to place them. All right. So that's gonna give you a more dynamic feel on how everything's gonna look. Um, There are other improvements that have been applied into the manufacturing environment as well. For example, on the turning operations, now there are more machine post processors. Every single day there are new printers, there are new CNC machines, 3-axis, 5-axis, you name it. They are coming out on the market. That some other ones that go away, but that they still need some. Um, some there are some people who are actually using them still. So you need support for those customers as well. So the databases have been improved as well to include information for all the machinery. So there are many, many other features that have been added to Fusion as well. All right. Now, if we're talking about assemblies, this is one very exciting feature that has been added lately. Now we have the option of using constraints. Okay, so if if you're a seasoned Fusion user, you might remember that we usually have only joints on Fusion, right? So if you're not familiar on what joints are, okay, basically, gonna go ahead and ground this guy. Parent, there we go. You remember that when you are going to include joints on Fusion, basically you needed to specify the type of movement that you want between each part, right? For example, this edge on that edge right here, for example. Okay, and then you specify the type of joint that you want to create, right? And in a general sense, that's going to be great if you're going to think about creating uh, mechanisms or doing those kind of things. But if you don't have a certain reference, like a physical reference to grab your origin point to, or if you want to specify another type of movement, maybe you're a constraint kind of guy, right? That is probably you want to reference a face, okay, to match another face, right? And Fusion only let you to create this type of joints before, right? So with this latest release, you don't need to only use joints. Now you can constrain components, okay? So same as you could before, if you want to constrain this face along that face, you can do that, no problem, okay? So you can specify different types of movement, okay, for your parts in the same way that you've been able to on AutoCAD software, okay? With the constraints, the advantage is you're going to be able to reference, for example, points on your design, construction geometry, that is planes, those kind of things. Okay, so it's going to be a huge advantage in case you want to make an edge on your assemblies. All right, you got the options of use them both as an inventor, for example, but now the availability of both of them, it's going to sum up a lot in your design workflow. All right. Create another joint here. There we go. Okay. So you get the freedom of using all of them. Right. And the last improvement I want to show you is some enhancements that have been implemented into the Fusion Web Client. Okay, so if you're used on taking a look at your projects on the thin client on here online, okay, I'll go ahead and guitar project. I'm gonna take a look at it on the web. So another person can take a look at it. You can reference that information, read it on another computer. So you don't need to usually install your computer or anything of the sorts. Now, the web browser is going to show you more information. Okay, so if you take a look at a part, for example, now you should be able to see well, the regular tabs that we used to look at, right? But now you can also see more information for the components, for the bill of materials, on the properties. Basically, it's they've done a revamp on the type of information that you can see on the web browser. Okay. All right. So this is basically what I wanted to show you guys today in regards to the latest improvements in the last releases on Fusion. So always be on the lookout for new features that might be coming up every single day. There's new ideas that are being implemented every month, more or less. There's a new release that's going to come up for Fusion. So it's very dynamic software. Okay, so it's always a good thing to take a look at it, to read the releases as well, and explore a little bit better. The more you use it, the more feedback you get from. Uh, the more feedback the Autodesk guys get from the users, the better it's gonna get. All right.